Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle, flying solo on today's show. I was going to be joined by Bax, but the flu bug is going around his house, and unfortunately, he just caught it. So late scratch for Bax, and so I'm just you guys are stuck with me today. I hope you guys are still basking. I just feel like house money is kind of the feeling I'm going into spring ball with. We're now less than a month from Ohio State kicking off spring ball, so we're going to get into, maybe what we're going to be looking forward to the most. Any concerns we have about this 2025 team, although I'm not really concerned because, again, house money after winning the national championship, which we're still less than a month removed from. Might I remind you guys, that happened on January 20th, so we're still not even a month removed from the national championship. House money. But let's get into some things, though, that we're, going to talk about. As I said, what are we looking forward to the most about spring ball? Obviously, Julian Sand, seeing how he does, presumably, as the number one quarterback. But seeing all the new guys, seeing the offensive line, what are they going to do? Are they going to stick with the three guys rotating between the two guard spots? What's going to happen at center? Just leave Carson Hinsman there? Or does Josh Padilla become the center, move Carson to one of the guard spots? A lot to get into. Matt Patricia, how's the defense going to look with Matt Patricia's fingerprints on it? We're going to get into all that stuff. What do you guys think about the spring showcase instead of the spring game? It really wasn't a game anyway, so I just think it's a great chance for families with young kids who maybe don't have a ton of money to get out to the Horseshoe, because if you're a little kid, it feels like a regular Ohio State game for you. You get to come to the Horseshoe, see the Buckeyes in their full gear, and your parents only pay $5 for you to get in, not 150. So before we do that, I'll let you guys know about our friends over at Mando. Mando is America's number one whole body deodorant for men, and I highly recommend it. If you've been using the same deodorant for many years like I was, it's time to try something new and better, and that's where Mando comes in. Do you want to try America's number one whole body deodorant right now? Well, now you can find the products at Walmart, Target, and other retailers across our great country. For the best deals, go to shopmando.com. That doesn't change, shopmando.com. But hey, now you can go to stores and get it as well. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant. That's what this is. And I like this scent, Pro Sport scent. You also get 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code Bucknuts at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Use code Bucknuts. Please support our show. Tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Again, shopmando.com. Use code Bucknuts. Get yourself $5 off. All right. Hope Bax feels better. Welcome into the show, my friends. All right. So, yeah, I mean, what I'm looking forward to most for the spring, obviously we're going to be watching Julian Sand very closely. I thought he looked good last spring overall. Didn't have a good spring game. Struggled in the last spring scrimmage the day before the spring game. But overall, I mean, especially for a kid that still should have been getting ready for his high school prom, he had a good spring. And I'm looking forward to how he looks this year. And he's a little taller, I think, than people. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I had a chance to, look at him eye to eye down in I might be a tad taller than him, but not much. Pretty much eye to eye when we were down in Atlanta. And he says he's 6'2", and he is 6'2" in shoes. There's no doubt about it. If he took his shoes off, would he be 6'1"? Probably, but no shorter than that. I've heard people say, well, he's listed at 6'1", but he's more like 6 foot. No. He's not. He's, if anything, closer to 6'2" than he is 6 foot. 6'1". They do a pretty good job of being accurate with their height and weights with the Buckeyes. So one thing he did tell me, though, he wants to, just keep getting stronger. He said he's about 205. So I think they list him at 200. So he just wants to, keep getting stronger. The 205, I don't know if I believe yet, but even though I just said they're accurate, he looks like maybe he's more like 200, but actually he's listed at 200, so I think they are accurate with that. He said he's 205. I don't know if I believe that. So anyway, definitely going to be looking forward to seeing what they do with Julian Sand after, or how he looks. And as I said earlier, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do on the offensive line. Like, I know big Ethan Onion was going to come in and be the left tackle, just boom, or perhaps right tackle. But he'll definitely be a starter. I think he's, the most underrated get in the transfer portal. When you have people saying that he could have been a second-round pick in this year's draft. They even do the star rankings for ratings for transfers, and he was a 4-star in the transfer portal. I don't know how he wasn't 5-star. Excuse me. And and then Daniels, is Philip Daniels, is he going to start like right away at right tackle, or is that going to be a good battle between Ian Moore and Daniels? What do they do again at the guard spots? Is it going to be same thing we saw in the national championship run with Luke Montgomery at left guard, Tegra at right guard, and then Austin Saraveld rotating between both spots? That worked out pretty well. They won a national championship with it. Or do you kick Carson Hinsman over to one of the guard spots, put Josh Padilla in at center, maybe kick Tegra out to right tackle, compete there, or kick Saraveld out to right tackle to compete there? It's going to be interesting to see what they do, but they have options. They have options there, which is really cool. And then, the other thing is really that I'm really curious to see how the defense is different under Matt Patricia. I know he's going to mix things up. So we're going to be out there one day. They're going to be doing odd man front. They'll be doing like a lot of, cover 2. And then the next day we'll be out there. They'll be doing like a lot of man press and, 4 down linemen. So I know they're going to mix things up, but we'll have a good feel for it by the end of spring, especially from talking to him. It's been fun, seeing a lot of his interviews, especially recent interviews that he's done, to kind of get a feel for what we're what we're getting into here. I always like doing my research on the new coaches. I love reading about Jim Knowles and hearing about him. Very unique character when he took over as defensive coordinator 3 years ago, and it's been cool. Getting to know, quote unquote, Matt Patricia. I'm very, 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 very anxious to get a chance to finally interview him. That'll be cool. So, and that should be coming up. Again, we're less than a month away from spring ball. It starts March 17th. So, how's this defense going to look under Matt Patricia? Are you going to stick with primarily 2 linebackers and 5 DBs? Again, he's going to mix things up a lot, and I'm sure that's what he's going to say. It's like, well, sometimes we'll do that, sometimes we won't, So I like that. I think pretty much every coach says we adjust our scheme to the strength of our players. Some do that more than others. Some coaches are a little bit more stubborn about, they might say that, but their scheme is their scheme. Patricia, for sure, he's proven it, will adjust his scheme to the strength of his players. He did it every year when he was the defensive coordinator in New England. And sometimes it was game to game. Sometimes it was during games. He'd mix it up so much. So expect a multiple defense overall from Patricia, but very and again, in addition to Matt Patricia, in addition to Julian Sand, in addition to the O-line, just all the young guys and the transfers. I think this is a heck of a good transfer class. They don't have a Caleb Downs in it, although again, I think Onionwa should be a 5-star, but he's not Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs was the number 1 overall player in the portal, period, last year. Plus they got Quinshawn. Plus they got Will Howard. It's just amazing. Plus they got Seth McLaughlin, best center in the country. And Will Kazmarek was a good get, and they have Kazmarek back for another year, which is good. But I really like this year's class. Max Clare, speaking of tight ends, that was a great get. He's got 10 years in the NFL written all over him. I like the running back from West Virginia. He's not Quinshawn, but a really good get with C.J. Donaldson. They did a good job in the portal. I like Logan George, the defensive end they got. They did a solid job in the portal this year, both offensive linemen. I've been talking up Onionwa. I like Daniels a lot, and Daniels has 3 years of eligibility left. So good job in the portal once again from Mark Pantoni and his staff, and, of course, the coaching staff as well. Spring Showcase. It's hard to keep up on the comments. I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on this, but I'm doing this show solo. It's hard to keep up on the comments, but we still appreciate the comments. Just curious what you guys think about the Spring Showcase. You guys okay with it? I'll try and keep an eye on the comments here just for a sec. You guys okay with the Spring Showcase? Here's where I come down on it. If you're upset about it, if you don't know what I'm talking about, instead of having a spring game, sounds like they're going to have a Spring Showcase. What that entails, we'll find out. But here's the thing, if it's like basically just a practice and they're going to be doing certain fun things and they'll actually do some 7-on-7 and some 11-on-11, but it's touch football. That's kind of been what it's been like the last few years anyway, right? This is not like the old days where it was like actually like kind of a game. So there you go. So I think this is exactly JM OSU. Can't be any worse than what we've had. Buck Rational, being rational as usual. He's not Buck Nutter. He's Buck Rational. I love that. Love that you've used that as your username. Dan Rubin coming up with it's Buck Nuts, not Buck Rational Observers. He says this is a good year for it. That's exactly what Ryan Day said. We played an NFL schedule, didn't even stop playing till less than a month ago. So, all right, you guys. Mika is like not down with it. Mika says she does not like it. All right, most of you are okay with it though. Most of you are okay with it. Dan on YouTube, it's been a showcase for the past 20 years. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I thought Tressel did a good job of at least trying to make it a pseudo game, but you can tell Day doesn't really care that much, and I don't blame him. And by the way, he's king of Columbus now. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do. House money, right? So, okay, good. I'm glad you guys are okay with it, most of you. Not everybody. Mika is not okay with it. Doug, these young men are not machines. Well, don't offend them, Doug. They look pretty machine-like to me in the playoffs. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, my friend. I know what you mean. So, okay, yeah, I mean, basically, this is the thing. We don't get to see the good stuff anyway. The media used to, speaking of Tressel, used to open up the jersey scrimmage. You guys remember the jersey scrimmage? I'm sure you do, unless you're really young. The jersey scrimmage was when the offense would scrimmage the defense, and then whoever won got to wear the scarlet jerseys in practice till the next jersey scrimmage, and there was only 2 a year. One in spring, one in fall. That's it. You win the jersey scrimmage, you wear the scarlet jerseys in practice. You lose, you wear the whites. Because they're not even gray in practice. They're just white. So you don't even get to wear one of the school colors. You just get to wear the whites. And you walk home from Ohio Stadium to the WAC. I loved that. Losing team walking back from the horseshoe to the WAC. Winning team riding the bus when they get back there, eating steak. Losing team eating hot dogs. Love stuff like that. And I love that it was open to the media. So that's the real good stuff, is when they do like full-scale scrimmages in the spring. We don't get to see that. So good. I'm glad you guys aren't bothered by it, because it's basically been a spring showcase anyway, as some of you have said. So good. I wanted to get to that. All right, biggest concern for the team. I don't have a massive concern about this team. Is it because I'm still basking? Maybe. But I've been doing projected depth charts. I mean, there's things we can nitpick. I don't like the depth at D tackle. You know, I'm not thrilled that there's going to be 8 new starters on defense, but then I write out who those new starters are going to be. I'm like, oh, okay, I like him, I like him. For example, the 4 new starters on the defensive line. I like all of them. I'm high on all of them. Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson at D end, and Caden McDonald, who I think is going to have a huge year as a junior, and Edric Houston, who played. It was hard to get playing time on that defensive line this year. Really hard if you're a true freshman, and he was in the rotation, especially during crunch time in the playoffs. So that tells me, I mean, and it's no surprise. I mean, he was the second highest rated player in the class, a 5-star. The only one that was rated higher than him in that 2024 class was J.J. Smith, of course. So Edric Houston, love that. Oh, I'd like the depth to be better at D tackle. Okay, so that's a concern. But there's some young guys on the come up, like Jason Moore. You know, Jason Moore as now a 3rd-year sophomore. It's time for him to step up. So it's going to be a good big spring for him. Will Smith Jr. We know he's got the genes. Even though his late great father was a DN, not a D tackle, but we know that. And now he's entering his 3rd year too. So those are 2 guys to keep an eye on. So when I say D tackles at depth, first world problems and then some. You know, this is why we're dealing with house money here. We're talking about D tackle depth. Linebacker, man, Cody Simon was good. So it's like, how are we going to replace Cody Simon with Arvell Reese? And this is nothing against Cody Simon, because he had a phenomenal year. One of the best years that I've seen from an Ohio State linebacker, period. Like one of the best. I go back to my first linebacker I remember seeing play that I really remember. It was awesome. Was Marcus Merrick, the all-time tackling leader at Ohio State. And then who took over for him? I guess there was a year in between Merrick and Spielman. Merrick's final year was 82. Yeah, I caught the itch from a young age. Like 6 years old, I was watching Buckeye football every week. So Marcus Merrick at the age of 6. So I'm not saying Cody Simon was as good as Marcus Merrick this past year. I'm not saying he was as good as Chris Spielman. I'm not saying he was as good as Katzenmoyer. We can go on and on and on. Steve Tovar. Actually, I think he probably was as good as Steve Tovar. Steve Tovar was really good. I think Cody Simon was absolutely as good as that this year. So how are you going to replace him? With Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese is going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. I mean, I think Gabe Powers would have played here for sure and been a starter and been a solid one, but he knew he wasn't going to play over Arvell Reese. And obviously, Sonny is back as the other linebacker. Linebacker depth. They like Peyton Pierce. I'm not really concerned about. They also got the Ty Howard kid to transfer in from Duquesne, who's undersized, as a linebacker, but very productive. And now Mick is in the process of bulking him up. So, but Peyton Pierce, I think, will be the top backup. And I think they're going to do more 3 linebacker sets. So Peyton Pierce could be out there a lot with Sonny and with Arvell Reese. Again, maybe depth is a little bit of a concern there. I don't know. Yeah, man, I really don't have – I mean, it's a very young offensive coaching staff. But you have Ryan Day as the head coach, though. But I want to keep him in that CEO role. So I get – is that a concern that – I don't know where I stand on that yet. I'm not really concerned about Brian Hartline being the play caller because I believe in him. And now's the time. And if things go astray, then Day could step in. Day's going to be heavily involved regardless. But I don't want him to be the play caller because him being the CEO worked out pretty darn well. Excuse me. Maybe I'm coming down with something too. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm getting a little verklempt. That SNL 50 was great. Oh my gosh, they brought out Debbie Downer, all the greats, most of the greats. They didn't do my personal favorite, which is a recent one. Guy that just bought a boat. So damn funny. Where was I before I started choking? Mom spaghetti. Biggest concern, yeah, I really don't have many. I mean, it is a young offensive coaching staff. It's very young, but okay. I'm good with it. And I'm sure, I think Drevno's still around to help out with the O-line. I'm sure maybe Day's going to bring in another analyst, a veteran guy. I don't know what he plans on doing with that. We haven't talked to and I don't blame – some of my guys on the beat are upset about this, that we haven't talked to the team since, the day after the game. We got, Coach Day and a couple of players. We got guys after the game, of course. The entire team was pretty much available right after the game. And we have not had any media availability since. And okay, give the guys a break. They just played an NFL season and won the title less than a month ago. I've already mentioned that. So give the guys a break. I'm maybe the only guy on the beat that's like, okay, I don't care. Like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be nice getting the availability when we do here in a couple weeks. That's what I think Jerry said, first week of March. So not next week, which is good because I'm actually off next week. I wouldn't want to miss the first availability that we've had in like over a month. First week of March sometime. He didn't give us a day. So let's say roughly 2 weeks from today, something like that. We're going to have some availability with the new coaches, hopefully the transfers, maybe the early enrollee freshmen, and probably Coach Day as well. Hopefully not all on the same day. Hopefully they spread that out a little bit, but look for that in about 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after that, spring ball kicks off. Don't worry, I got much more to get into. But I do want to let you guys know about my friends at Factor Meals. I love Factor Meals. Listen, to say I like cooking is I like eating, okay? And I don't mind, like, a lot of times the prep, but sometimes I do. And then no matter what, I mind the cleaning up afterwards. Factor takes all of that out of play. There's no prep, no mess, no cleanup, and you're not sacrificing quality. It's high quality, never frozen, ready in 2 minutes. It arrives at your door fresh. You put it in your you can put it in your microwave right away. Put it in your fridge. And then when you're ready, 2 minutes. As I keep saying, these are not the microwave meals that we grew up on, unless you're very young and you grew up on Factor the last few years. Factor's high-quality, great-tasting meals that are ready in just 2 minutes. Never frozen, always fresh, no prep, no mess, nothing to clean up. Stop eating those old-school microwave meals and get with Factor. We have a great deal for you guys. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's a heck of a good deal. 50% off plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. There you go. All righty. Running backs. I think some people have said that could be a concern. I'm not concerned about it. Now, am I expecting one of the best tandems we've ever seen at Ohio State? No, that'd be unfair. First of all, that'd be slap in the face to Quinshawn and Trey, right? It's fun seeing some of these mock drafts coming out now. They keep moving up. The Buckeyes keep moving up. I saw one yesterday from Daniel Jeremiah, had Trey as a first-round pick. I still bet he'll be a second-rounder, but I hope I'm wrong. Just them getting this type of buzz is awesome. You know, Trey's not going to run slow at the combine and pro day. He's going to put on a show. Quinshawn, I think, is a little underrated, but you're still seeing him. Some people have him as a second-rounder. Most people who are doing the 3-round mocks have him as a third-rounder. I don't get that. I would take Quinshawn in the second round and not think twice about it. But so they're not going to be as good as Quinshawn and Trey. But I really like James Peoples. I thought he was good as a true freshman, and if they needed him, he would have been fine, more than fine. But they had the best 1-2 punch that I've ever seen at Ohio State, because I missed Archie and Pete, Archie Griffin and Pete Johnson, of course. And I like C.J. Donaldson. I like that Sam Williams-Dixon decided to come back, pulled a Bryson Rogers. Bryson Rogers did the same thing, the wide receiver, entered the portal after his freshman year in 2023. Said, I'm going to stay at Ohio State, came back, boom, won a title. Now he's in line as a third-year guy to get some decent playing time. Probably still didn't play as much as he wanted, after coming back, but he's now playing the long game. He still has 3 years of eligibility left because he redshirted, Bryson Rogers. And then Sam Williams-Dixon did the same thing, redshirted, entered the portal. Now he's coming back, and he's got 4 years of eligibility left because he's a year younger, obviously, than Bryson Rogers. So that gives them more depth at running back and a guy that's been in the system for a year. Good job by it. That says a lot about Carlos Loughlin, too, because it wasn't like, Sam Williams-Dixon left because, didn't really like the running backs coach. No, he just wanted to play and then realized, okay, how about I just go back to Ohio State? They're losing both starting running backs. How about I go compete there? Good idea. Because I was saying one of the true freshmen is going to, by default, be the number 3 tailback, just like James Peoples was, although Peoples was, by default, kind of not being kind to him because he's just really good. Although I think they landed 3 good ones. Bo Jackson is the highest ranked running back they landed. Turbo Rogers is also, but he's more of a hybrid, kind of like what Urban used with the H-back. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Turbo. He's not here yet. I think he gets here in June, I believe. But the other 2 guys are here, Isaiah West being the other one from Philly. I like him. I think he's a bit underrated. So I still think one of those guys is going to need to play. Maybe not a lot. Hopefully not a lot, because that would probably mean James Peoples or Donaldson got hurt. But, if Peoples and Donaldson stay healthy, those are going to be the 2 main guys, and everybody else is going to be fighting for scraps. But just because they didn't need it this past year, let's just think, every year's different. Depth can disappear at running back like that. We saw it happen 2 seasons ago, that 2022 season, when the year they barely lost to Georgia in the semifinals of the playoffs. They were down to Xavier Johnson was playing running back. I think even Traynham ended up getting hurt. Traynham started the Michigan game after not starting all year because they were so banged up at running back. So that can disappear quickly. So it's good they have depth there. They got 6 scholarship guys. Got the 2 returning guys now. They got the transfer with Donaldson, and they got the 3 true freshmen. And 2 of the 3 have already enrolled. So that's good business right there. It's not a concern. I'm not going to say running back as a concern just because it's not going to be phenomenal like it was under, with Travion and Quinshawn. I still think it's going to be very good. I mean, until I see who the right tackle is, I guess that's a minor concern, but I'm not really concerned about it because I think either Philip Daniels or Ian Moore or somebody else, let's say they kick Tegra out there. I think Tegra is more of a guard, though, which is why he plays guard. Breaking news. But I think either Ian Moore or, probably Daniels. I mean, Daniels is getting a good chunk of change to come here. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to start for sure. And Ian Moore is a big boy. I had a chance to talk to him down in Atlanta. He could be ready to be a primetime player. So even as a redshirt freshman, I know they like him a lot. So yeah, if you guys haven't heard, I've seen there's some talk about the spring showcase. Yeah, if you are joining us late, I talked about that a little bit. It seems like the majority of you are okay with it because it's basically been that anyway. It hasn't really been a real spring game. It's been one-hand touch. And sometimes they're not even doing that. They'll let's just kick like 5 field goals in a row or something like that. I miss the days of when Jim Tressel would make it more like a game. And with very few exceptions, there have been exceptions, very few exceptions. We haven't really seen that many massive injuries, like season-ending injuries. Again, we have seen it. We saw it with Mitchell Melton a couple years ago. And maybe that's another reason Day's just not messing with it. But I don't even think they were even tackling. I think that was even when they were just playing touch football. Stuff's going to happen. So now, way back in the day, I believe they lost Mike Tomczak. He broke his leg in a spring game. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, let's let the linebackers tee off on the quarterbacks. I'm not talking about early 80s. No. I'm talking about like aughts, Tressel era stuff where certain guys were off limits, but it was still basically a game. I liked that. They would have a draft. Tressel would have a draft. He'd be the commissioner. He'd split up the seniors into 2 teams, and they would draft players. And it was awesome. And it was open to the media. We'd go there, and it was awesome because why was it awesome? Why? Why do you guys think that was awesome? Because you got to see who the seniors and sometimes fourth-year juniors, sometimes he put fourth-year juniors on, especially if he knew a guy that was his last year in the program. The leaders of the program, the seniors and the other fourth-year juniors, who they thought were the best of the young guys. For example, going into the 2004 season, guys, geez, just 21 years ago. Yeah, I've been doing this a while. So they won the national championship in 2002, then had almost the entire team back for 2003, including quarterback Craig Krenzel, and then a pretty big turnover in 2004. Going into that year, right? So who's going to take over at quarterback? Is it going to be Justin Zwick, the 5-star? Is it going to be this Troy Smith kid? Ended up being Zwick, but I'll never forget when they had the spring game draft, the players were basically, the 2 teams were basically fighting over who got the first pick at quarterback because they both wanted Troy Smith. What do they say? Game knows game. And the one side that got Troy Smith was celebrating. Again, Troy and Justin were going into their 3rd-year sophomore seasons. So I remember 2004, they were not a good team. Justin won the job. Troy ended up winning it kind of by default because Justin got hurt, but Justin wasn't playing well. And then once he got healthy, it was Troy's job until Troy got suspended. But whatever. Then we know what happened after that. Troy, 2 years later, wins the Heisman. But I'll never forget. People are wondering, it's Justin Zwick's job. Well, spring of that year, even though Tressel ended up giving the job to Zwick, all of the veterans on that team are like, Troy Smith's the guy. And the team that got him, like I said, was celebrating. The team that didn't get him was pissed. I was like, geez, I kind of hope Justin Zwick doesn't see this because even though I think we all reported on it, although the beat was like a 1/4 of the size then as it is now, maybe a 5th of the size. I kind of felt bad for Zwick, but it was eye-opening. And it wasn't that shocking because I had seen practices where Troy Smith looked better than Justin Zwick to me. But it was still eye-opening that it was unanimous that the veterans on this team all wanted Troy Smith as their quarterback. They took it seriously. It's hilarious. I wish they did something like that again. But as we know, times changed. I think a little bit has changed in college football since then. It's crazy the changes we've seen just in the last few years alone. But house money, right? All right, I'll leave you with that. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate it. Bax, I hope you feel better. One more thing. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel and you like the show, subscribe. We're nearing 15,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can get that by the end of the day. I think we need like 15 more. So if you like the show and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It helps us, doesn't cost you anything. And if you are subscribed, I thank you for that. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else that you can give us a nice review, please do that. That helps as well. So I just appreciate you guys making the Bucknuts Morning 5 a part of your routine. I know you've got a ton of choices out there in the Buckeye podcast realm, and I know you take advantage of a lot of those choices, and that's cool. But I'm just glad the Bucknuts Morning 5 is one of your choices. We appreciate it very much. All right, feel better, backs. Thanks to all of you guys. Cannot thank you enough. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.